Hello, my wonderful students. Are you ready for another book? I hope so. Today for our science research journal about penguins, we are going to read a book called Penguins by Gail Gibbons. She's one of my favorite authors. Oh, there's going to be a lot of information.
Make sure to drink water and wash your hands.
Hi, Alexa. Alert bead. Yes, it's almost lunchtime. I'm going to read this to you guys and then lunch. All right, penguins first. Now, I do want to point out that there is a mention in here about millions of years ago. That is what scientists who are not Christian believe. We as Christians believe that God made the animals with everything that they need to survive, and for a reason they are the way they are. Okay, so we'll just keep that in mind. Okay, all right, let's share my screen. Penguins by Gail Gibbons. Oh, and her illustrations are beautiful. Look at the colors of that sunset. Maybe it's a sunrise. What do you think it could be? And there are the emperor penguins, and there's a baby. Oh, so let's see what we can learn about penguins. Oh, your mommy, daddy, and a baby. All right, Penguins by Gail Gibbons. Here come the penguins, straight and tall. They walk with a waddle, yet look stately and dignified. Ooh, what do you think that means? Stately and dignified. Look, you're important. Some kinds of penguins. Ooh, there are 17 different kinds of penguins. The smallest is the blue penguin. It is about 1 foot or 30 centimeters. And I happen to have a ruler here that is 12 inches. So it's only 12 inches or 1 foot tall. That is a tiny penguin. That is a very, very tiny penguin. The biggest of all penguins is the emperor penguin, standing almost 4 feet tall. He's probably about as tall as some of you guys. All penguins have black or bluish gray backs and white bellies. The patterns around their necks and heads are what make them look different. Some have colorful patches. Others show off brightly colored crests. That's the stuff on top of their head. But they all have the same basic body shapes and characteristics. So here's our emperor penguin. This guy is a macaroni penguin. Here's the king penguin, the Gen 2 penguin, chin strap penguin. You think it's because it looks like he has a chin strap? Galapagos penguin, little blue penguin, also called a fairy penguin. Maybe that's because of his color and because he's so tiny. Rockhopper penguin. Oh, there's the crest. There's the crest. Magellantic penguin, yellow-eyed penguin. Maybe it's because he has yellow around his eye. The African penguin, also called a black-footed penguin. His feet do look a little darker than some of the others, huh? And the Adelie penguin. Wow. So here we actually have some body parts. The top of their head is called a crown. There's the eye, his beak or bill, the throat, neck, the back, tail, the breast, often on animals is like the chest. There's his belly, there's a wing, and webbed feet. Now, webbed foot means that like we do not have webbed feet, okay? But a webbed foot means that there's a small piece of skin that connects their toes. Yeah, So we don't have that, but if we did, it would be up in here. It would keep them connected. Our fingers are independent. They can wiggle and stuff like that because they are not webbed. Ooh, let's see, kind of moved a little bit. All penguins are found on the southern hemisphere. That's the bottom half of our planet. The Adelie and emperor penguins never leave Antarctica. Others live in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, South America, and the Galapagos, and many other islands. So this is how we would normally look at a picture of our planet, and that line is the equator. If you're below the equator, you're in the southern hemisphere. If you're above it, you're in the northern hemisphere. And here is the continent of North America, and we are somewhere in there. Pretty cool. So we were to take this and turn it. There's the South Pole. See, they've turned it so we can see where they all are. Oh, and there's a color code. How cool is that? Wow. So it's warm in South Africa, South America, Australia, and New Zealand is probably pretty warm, or at least they get different seasons. But in Antarctica, it's always cold. Very cool. Penguins are birds, but they lost their ability to fly millions of years ago. That's what some scientists believe, but we as Christians, we believe differently. Over time, they began to spend a lot of time hunting for food in frigid waters, or God made them that way. Their wings changed into powerful, rigid flippers for swimming, or God made them that way. Penguins have sleek, smooth bodies that glide easily through the water. They are excellent swimmers and divers. Larger ones can swim faster than 25 miles an hour. The emperor penguin can dive deeper than any other bird, about 1,500 feet. That's really deep. Look at them go. That's pretty cool. But they're what looks like wings. Those are flippers, and they are very powerful and used for swimming. Groups of penguins may stay at sea for weeks at a time. They leap in graceful arcs through the water to grab breaths of air. Penguins feed underwater on krill, fish, and other sea creatures. Krill is a small shrimp-like creature. If you've ever seen shrimp in the supermarket, they do look kind of similar. Their natural enemies are fur and leopard seals, sea lions, sharks, and killer whales. So penguins are food for these animals. They are predators, and penguins are prey. When the penguins want to leave the water, they can leap up as much as 6 feet. That's taller than me. I'm 5'7". They can leap over me. Whoa. Onto a rocky shore or iceberg. They climb rocks easily, hopping from one to the other. Sometimes penguins speed over snow and ice by dropping onto their bellies and sliding. That certainly would make for a fun way to get around. Oh, look at the colors of these illustrations. Oh, beautiful. A penguin's many feathers are small and stiff. They form a warm and waterproof covering. In really cold places, penguins have an extra layer of long, downy feathers underneath, kind of like if we were to wear long underwear under our regular clothes. Yeah, like long underwear or like thermals. It's an extra layer. They also have thick layers of fat to keep them warm. Once a year, many penguins come together to form colonies called rookeries. So a colony is like a small group of penguins, but when several colonies get together, they make rookeries. It is time for the penguins to mate. That's what we sometimes call when like animals find their husband or wife, because animals don't have weddings and get married like people do. So it is time for the penguins to mate and raise their young. At this time, they make loud croaking and trumpeting sounds. Most of the time, penguins are quiet. What a noisy place a rookery is with all the harsh penguin calls. There can be hundreds, sometimes thousands of penguins in a rookery. They have no trouble finding their mates. While courting, they chase each other. Sometimes they hold wings away from their bodies and hold their beaks up high. Usually the same pair mates and raises its young together. Penguins are one of few animals that once they find their mate, that's it. Yeah. Like cats and dogs, they can have different boys or girls that help make babies, but penguins, they find one. That's one way they're similar to people. Oh, I thought this said an Adeline penguin. It's Adelie. Or Adelie. It might be Adelie. It is time to build their nests. Some penguins make their nests in burrows or rocky crevices. Others build nests in the open using sticks and grasses. Some arrange small stones in a circle. Looks like that's what this couple is doing. The two biggest penguins, the emperor penguin and the king penguin, don't build nests. That's probably because the Adelie penguins and several others do not live in Antarctica, so they have warmer spots. But the emperor penguin and king penguin, they live in Antarctica. If they were to put their eggs in a nest, they would just be on ice, and eggs need to be kept warm. Soon after the nest is built, it is egg laying time. Most penguins usually lay 2 eggs. Most, not all, most. While one parent keeps the eggs warm, incubating them, the other one searches for food. Incubation can last 30 to 60 days, depending on the kind of penguin. The penguins fiercely guard the eggs and their nesting territory. Well, yeah, where were those predators? Oh, I'm trying to get to the page, and the page won't turn. Any of these that can get up on land, I'm sure they would quickly snatch one of those eggs. I'm excited for when Jesus comes again and we don't have to worry about things like that. This is all because of sin, because of choices. King penguins and emperor penguins lay only 1 egg. The female quickly passes her egg over to the male. He carries the egg on top of his feet. The egg is kept warm by a flap on his belly called the brood pouch. He carefully waddles around short distances without dropping the egg. During incubation time, the female swims out to sea to feed. Ooh, co-parenting. The male emperor penguins gather together in the cold, dark, polar winter. The temperature can get as low as -60 degrees. When we lived in Chicago, it got into like the negative teens and like, oh man, that was cold. I cannot imagine the bitter cold of -60 degrees. Oh, they protect themselves by huddling close together, constantly moving from the inside to the outside of the group and back to the inside to stay warm. During this time, they don't eat, they fast, living off stored body fat, and can lose up to 45% of their body weight. That's almost half. Wow. Man, God did a pretty brilliant design with them, huh? After about 65 days, the egg hatches. The female returns around this time. It is her turn to care for the chick. She tucks it under her brood pouch to keep it warm. And the male emperor penguin is free to swim out to sea to feed. The chick weighs about 11 ounces. Oh, so tiny. And is covered in gray, soft down. Remember, that's a type of feather. The mother has food in her belly. When the chick is hungry, the mother throws up or regurgitates a meal for it. Now, that sounds really gross to us, but remember, that's how these animals have to feed their babies until the babies are old enough. When the father returns, both parents take turns feeding and keeping the chick warm. The chick grows. When it's about 8 weeks old, it weighs around 4 pounds. Now the chick is too big to stay under its parents' brood pouches. The chicks begin to gather in groups called creches. They huddle together to stay warm. When the sun shines, they scurry around to get stronger and practicing their balance. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. So I'm going to go to my dictionary app. And I'm going to type it in, C-R-E-C-H-E. Okay, it's French. Creches. Creches. Sometimes it'll play a pronunciation.
Crash.
Creche.
Crash.
Creche. Creche. Okay. Woo. So singular is creche. Plural must be creches. Okay. That makes sense. Woo. You can say a French word. Hey, honey, what did you learn today? I learned a French word. Creche. Creche. When a parent returns, it calls with the cry only its chick knows. The chick rushes to its parent. Meal time. I feel like I skipped a page. Nope, I didn't. But did I read this one? I didn't finish it. Sorry, let's go back. The chicks begin to gather in groups called creches. They huddle together to stay warm. When the sun shines, they scurry around getting stronger and practicing their balance. There we go. When a parent returns, it calls with a cry only its chick knows. The chick rushes to its parent. Meal time! The chick is fed one huge meal every few days. It takes time for the parents to make each trip out to sea for food. All penguins are raised in similar ways. When the chicks are 3 to 10 months old, they begin to lose their gray down and grow adult feathers. Oh, now they are called fledglings. So that must be like teenager phase of penguins. Off they go to live on their own. They learn to hunt and survive without the help of their parents. In about 4 years, they will return to raise their own young. One at a time, the number of penguins was declining. That means getting smaller. Eggs were harvested and penguins were hunted for their skins. Oh, their fat was boiled down to make oil. Oh, that's so sad. If the eggs are taken, they can't be kept warm and they won't hatch, and then there won't be the next generation of babies. Oh, and if the adults are hunted and killed, then there aren't any grown-ups to make more eggs and babies. people not being respectful to God's creation. Makes me sad. Today, penguins are in danger. Sometime oil spills coat their feathers. Oh, there's an oil rig, and this blackish gray stuff floats, and they get covered in it. Oh, overfishing reduces their food supply. They can get tangled in fishing nets. Tourists can do harm to colonies of penguins by disturbing them. See, when scientists go and study animals, they try their very, very best not to get too close. They have really expensive video cameras and regular cameras to make their movies and get pictures, and they try very hard not to disturb. But sometimes tourists are just not respectful. Now there are laws to help protect them. People work together to help penguins survive in our modern world. Some areas have been named penguin sanctuaries. Oh, that's good. That's really good, because in an animal sanctuary for any kind of animal, that means you can't go and hunt them, you can't go and see them, they're just left alone to do their thing. That's good. Penguins can be found in zoos and aquariums. People working there care for the penguins in a clean, safe environment. It is fun to watch penguins play. And usually the penguins that are in zoos and aquariums are rescued, or they're born there, so they don't necessarily know how to survive in the wild. So usually the ones that are there and not living in their normal habitat are needing some extra medical help. They're not captured to be there. Usually, they shouldn't be. That is so cool. What great things we just learned about penguins. Oh, they are fascinating creatures. Fascinating. What a blessing we have been given to have penguins in our world. I really hope you enjoyed this and learned lots, because we're going to be adding some of those answers to our research journal. So I will see you guys in the next one.